thought that the NFC East is the best division in the NFL. Clearly, I mean, you have a 5-0 team, you have 2 4-1 teams, and then you have the Commanders. Just questions at the quarterback position. Ron Vera, what can we get better on quarterback? But the Giants, Daniel Jones has this team 4-1, or more likely, Brian Daboll has this team 4-1 coming off a victory against the Green Bay Packers. Daboll, give a shout out to this guy, what he's doing with this team. I don't know what happened to the Packers. I mean, they have that lead and they just throw up on themselves late. If you look too at who was making the plays, who was scoring the touchdowns, the Giants are running out their backups, their third stringers, and they're making all the plays. So if you were a fantasy owner, you were pissed off watching this game because it's like, get the random amalgamation of names that was the New York Giants offense in that game, but it was good enough to get the win. So here they are. Kind of a sucky thing that they have to play again in week 6, though, coming off a London game. Don't know how they got that card dealt to them. Sunday night game coming off a victory as well for the Baltimore Ravens, their opponent. What are your impressions? I mean, New York Giants.
Who would have thought? Not me.
Yeah, that the Giants technically have a better record than the Baltimore Ravens, which if that ain't misleading, that is, I think the Giants are like 7.5 point dogs in that game.
Going in, you said not all 3-1 teams are built the same. And I agreed with that. Now we're 4-1. Now it feels a little more real. And they're 4-1 again. If they just beat the Carolina Panthers or they beat the Atlanta Falcons,
or they beat the Bears.
Yeah. But they beat the Packers, a team that was in the playoffs, the number 1 seed in the playoffs the last 2 years. They beat them. And even if the Packers are starting to look like they're slowed down, the Giants at least showed that they have the talent on the defensive side of the ball. They have enough pieces for them offensively to win football games. They're probably going to be a playoff team this year, if for nothing else.
No, they will not. They will not be a playoff team this year.
4-1, you don't think that they're going to slide in?
They would have to win 10 games to make the playoffs. They would have to go 6-6 the rest of the season, and I see no scenario where the New York Giants can go 6-6. Although they have a really easy schedule, but they're going to throw one up against the Lions, and it'll be a market correction. But the thing that I said on the internet, and I will rephrase it here. If you are a team that is not named Chicago, Washington, Carolina, Atlanta, or Seattle, if you're not one of those teams and you miss the playoffs and the New York Giants make it, somebody needs to get fired within your organization. It doesn't have to be a coach, doesn't have to be a GM. Somebody's got to get fired, because if the Giants make the playoffs and say the Cardinals don't, the Saints don't, the Lions don't, the Cowboys don't, the Vikings don't, there ain't no excuse, because this Giants team is not a playoff team. And in my defense, I have not watched very much Giants football this year. I have not really gone back and actively seeked out the Giants. I just have the results and everyone who loves Saquon's fantasy football numbers, and the fact that the Giants have a not terrible defense. I believe DVOA, they're ranked 21st in the league right now. So they are not terrible on defense, which is something that can't be said for Giants teams of past years. But the New York Giants are such a strange football team. And in spite of their decision to keep Daniel Jones, they have been a 4-1 football team that won 3 games because they happened to play like the only 3 teams in the NFC worse than them. And then they beat the Titans in a game where I just saw that week 1 and I was like, oh, the Titans lost. They probably fucked up somehow. I didn't watch the game, but I just saw that. I'm like, oh, the Titans probably really messed that one up bad. And that's how they get to 4-1. And eventually the market correction will come. I'm not sure when it's going to be, but if you had told me the Giants would have won 4 games all season, I would have believed you. And they've been pretty good.
Remember last year when we were watching the Cincinnati Bengals go against the Green Bay Packers, and we were applauding them for just hanging around and being in that game. They eventually lost, but the Giants actually won that game. And maybe it's the London thing. I don't know. Maybe that made things weird, but the Packers had a lead and they let the Giants just continuously battle back. If for nothing else, this Giants team shows that they have the ability to want to battle back. And I think they're starting to believe in Daboll. And I think that's a powerful thing to have as a coach, when you have a group of men believing in your ability, believing that you are putting them in the right direction. Because when you start losing very early on as a new head coach, we see those things go downhill quick. I mean, we look at like Matt Rule, right? And how he easily lost the locker room. I think Daboll's gained this locker room. And I think that if you look at how he kind of clawed back in that game, what they were doing really well was they said, okay, despite the injury too that Daniel Jones was suffering, we're going to use his athleticism. We're going to get him outside the pocket. We're going to let him use his legs. Similar stuff that we're using, we did with Josh Allen. Obviously, Daboll coming from that system, and you don't have Josh Allen, but You at least have the traits that Daniel Jones has that are similar to what Josh Allen does. They were scheming some easy throws for him, crossing routes, some deep outs, some stuff that Daniel Jones was able to get done, and they were able to get the ball in Saquon's hands. That's replicable. That's stuff that they can do every single week. And if you are Daniel Jones, hopefully you just keep improving as the season goes. You just keep kind of like gain more rhythm in this offense, and confidence can help. If he feels the level of confidence that his Giants teammates are feeling, that could be a powerful thing for this Giants team moving forward. Now, going in against their opponent, the Baltimore offense has been a little bit down the last couple of weeks, and they've played some good opponents. Obviously, they played the Bengals, who I said have the abilities, the tools at their disposal to stop Lamar Jackson. They couldn't stop in the final 2 minutes, and that happens to a lot of teams. Okay. She had a down performance against Buffalo. Obviously, we go back to the interception thrown in the end zone, that second half performance, bad. So what Baltimore Ravens offense are we going to see this week? Are we going to see the one that was rolling in the early part of the season? Or are we going to see much of the same? Because if we see much of the same with this pesky Giants team, they could pose problems for the Ravens in this matchup. They currently go in as 5-point favorites to the Ravens on the road.
Oh, 5 points. That's actually lower than I thought. I thought it would be like 7.5 points. So, you know what? I might be underestimating the Giants, and that's probably because I haven't watched a lot of Giants football this year. And it seems to be the thing that they do well is do more with less on offense. They've got a scheme that does more with less there. And Baltimore, I'm more fascinated by Baltimore because Baltimore is this classic team of if, and if for me. Like, if three things go differently for Baltimore, they were the number 1 seed last year. They beat Tennessee in the playoffs in 2019, and they'd be 5-0 this year. And obviously, at a certain point, the number of ifs kind of changes the math a little bit. And I recognize I can't always say if, and if with Baltimore. They're kind of in this group of very good right now. And obviously, it was 1916. I actually watched that Sunday night game in between celebrating the Padres beating the New York Mets. And while it was low scoring, it was thoroughly entertaining. Baltimore just kind of wanted to play that style because I guess that's how you play the Bengals this year.
I just want to point out, I like how you throw in a dig at the Mets while we're also talking the Giants, because I'm sure that's going to trigger some people in the comment section.
Maybe so.
Overlap. A lot of Yankees, Giants, Mets, Jets. So let's see. We'll see how
a little bit. Yeah.
Let us know.
If you're a New York Giants fan, why? But at the same time, I will say to Baltimore, like, I'm really interested in how they run that offense, because Duvernay and Andrews and Rashad Bateman all look like wide receiver 2s this year that any week, based on scheme, put up numbers that look like a wide receiver 1. They obviously want to run the football because they have Lamar Jackson as a super weapon. And that 2-minute drill was just fantastic because it was like the Bengals gave them 2 minutes and 3 timeouts, and it took Lamar 1 minute and 0 timeouts to get down the field 50 yards. And 2 plays were RPOs with or RPOs plus read options with Lamar Jackson, and they gained like 28 yards on 2 plays. And Baltimore's offense is just interesting in that way. And we could go further and talk about the Baltimore defense. Obviously, the Giants don't have that high-powered offense to take any advantage of the Baltimore depleted defense. But
no,
they're gonna,
and we don't even know what their wide receiving core is going to look like this week. Again, I'm impressed too. You talk about doing more with less. The Giants, with their wide receiving issues that they've had, I mean, come on, they don't even have their highest paid wide receiver out there. They can't even put him out there on the field, or their highest drafted player in Kadarius Toney, which to him, it's a matter of injuries. And I find it funny that he was ready to come back from an injured hamstring and then immediately hurts the other one. It's like a 20-something-year-old Julio Jones.
They weren't playing Kadarius Toney before he got injured, though. Like,
no, they
have
want
decided
him out there because Kadarius Toney still has that level of athleticism that made him at least a fringe first-round pick at the very least. I'm not saying Kadarius Toney never had talent. He just can't stay healthy this year. I think if he was out there, the Giants offense would be running a lot better.
Yeah, that's why I find it so remarkable that they're 4-1. Obviously, they've done it by like scoring 17 points against the Titans and 17 points against the Bears. So like
So do you declare them the NFL version of Iowa?
I'm not going to go that far because there are other teams that do it more dramatically. I will say, if it seems like, and again, like I said, I haven't watched much Giants. It seems like if they win a very specific way. And maybe the Green Bay game changed that a bit.
Gary Brightwell scores a touchdown, or Daniel Bellinger.
Oh, Daniel Bellinger.
Let me know if you started those guys.
Oh, Daniel Bellinger, San Diego State, stand up. Of course, I know who that is. Of course, go San Diego State. Well, yeah, Daniel Bellinger. I did not know he was in the NFL, but former San Diego State Aztec. Like the Giants, it seems like they win one way. I don't know why the Packers threw up on themselves at the end. I did see the Giants defense make a stand on the Packers in the red zone, and it felt like the Packers' loss was more an indictment of Green Bay's offense than it was
tip
what the
balls
Giants
on
were
Aaron
doing.
Rodgers late. They were able to get a little bit of a rush on him. They just were able to get Aaron Rodgers start playing a lot more conservative towards the end. And I think this will be a more of an indictment on perhaps LaFleur and the play calling as well. You know, you have a good thing with Aaron Jones sometimes. And I know that you love AJ Dillon, but sometimes when Aaron Jones is rolling, sometimes you just got to roll the hot hand. And it seems like the Packers kind of like went away from what was working. Listen, there's an argument made the Packers lost the game more than the Giants won the game, but the Giants did play well in that stretch because it's not easy, as we've seen, to battle back from a double-digit deficit. And the fact that the Giants have shown that they're able to do that with their injured wide receiving core, with a quarterback that we don't think is very good in year one of a new head coach, those are all things he could build around. Like, I'm intrigued to see what that next phase is for the Giants. Like, how do you improve to give Daboll the assets that he needs? Like, what's that right move for them? Because it's going to be tough for them to get a younger quarterback. We've talked about that. Unless, like you said, someone falls to them in the draft, but, you know, we don't see too many people fall, or they trade up. They trade a lot of assets to do it. Go the veteran quarterback route. There's not a lot of veteran quarterbacks out there to be had. Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe?
I mean, they'll scheme around whoever they get. That's probably the solution. In terms of the game, Baltimore's going to win. Baltimore, I mean, based on everything I've come to expect, this feels like a market correction week where Baltimore like just drops 42 points and blows the doors off the Giants. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm saying like there is a non-zero chance that like Baltimore wins this game by a ton of points, because that would be Baltimore like resetting their offense, and it would be the Giants coming back to market correction levels on their defense, which maybe their defense is really good. It's just their offense is ranked 12th in DVOA and their defense is ranked 21st. So like the offense has been better than the defense for the Giants, even in successes this year. So I'll take Baltimore and whatever point spread might come of it.
I'll stick with Baltimore as well, but 5.5 points. I mean, similar thing I said last week. I took the Giants with the points. I think I might be inclined to believe this could be a field goal game again. I think Baltimore's starting to get to the point where they're winning games ugly too. The Giants like to kind of like muck things up and can make you kind of like roll around in the dirt. I think that's going to be the type of game this is going to turn out to be. So yeah, give me Giants with the points, but I will take Baltimore to win outright. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Are you going with the Giants? Are you going with the Ravens? Are you taking the points? Are you not taking the points? Overs, unders, whatever you're talking about. We want to know. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. Follow us on social media. From Ju-Ju, from Kyle, stay safe, happy, and healthy. We'll see you on the next one.